Hello everybody, it's Dr. Rick dropping in on you. Hope everybody is having an unbelievable start to your week. It's been great. It's a little warmer than I would like it to be. Texas is Texas. You would think, having grown up here, that I would be used to it, but my time spent north of the border acclimated me to cold, and I like it cold. But anyway, that's that. Look, I want to talk to you, and I'm going to be honest and upfront with you, if that's okay. Or if it's not okay, I'm going to do it anyway. Before I get started, I'm going to point you to the description box, the post box. There are always going to be resources, opportunities to work with me, opportunities to take hold of resources that can literally advance you towards some of the things that you say you want, because that's the thing. Talking about what you want will never get you there. Now, how you talk and the words you use and the words you allow people to speak around you do have power. But you're going to have some application. You're going to have some correspondence in your actions, in your beliefs, in your behaviors, in your habits that are conducive to having the things that you say you want. So you're going to have to take action. It's that simple. And that's what I want to sort of be honest with you about today. I want to address the people who seem to always have a problem with the fact that somebody else is on. Somebody else is getting on. Somebody else is making it. Somebody else is doing better than them. Somebody else. And what is happening when a person is looking at someone else and they're frustrated with the fact that that person seems to be doing better than them, they don't realize it, but they're literally functioning from a place of entitlement. The entitlement says that because other people have it, I deserve to have it too. They are not looking at the challenge of stepping up their game. See, we talked about this last night. This was a big discussion at the cigar bar. A big discussion about human performance, about where we are in life, how we end up where we end up, why we get where we get, why some people are able to build wealth, why some people are able to start their own business, why some people are able to, and others aren't. And one brother set up and said, it's all about choice. You know, that word choice strikes a chord amongst us, and it set another person off. Now, everybody in here is, by normal standards, considered successful. Every person in here has achieved in this discussion has achieved some level of success and will be viewed in general society as being successful. So we're not talking about people who don't have an understanding of how things work. But each one's experience is different. Each one, how they identify. You got some people who identify with their heritage and their beginning more than others, and we'll leave it at that. And, you know, you got Malcolm and OJ, and I'll put it like that. Now, here's the thing. One person says it's about choice. Another person says that suggests that people who aren't on are stupid, because you're suggesting that the only thing that's stopping them from being on is a choice. Now, in essence, they're both right, and this is where I come in. It is about choice, but you do have to be aware of choices. See, just simply knowing that I can own a home, just simply knowing I can own a business, isn't the same as being exposed to the information, the paradigms, the systems that literally suggest it's a responsibility. It's a difference in sitting up saying it's possible and sitting up saying that's what I'm supposed to be doing and I absolutely can't do it. And that not doing it is a failure and it's irresponsible. Spending my money, spending $200 on a pair of Jordans versus putting $200 into the S&P 500 isn't wise. This isn't knocking buying Jordans. This is saying if I'm working check to check, I don't need to be buying Jordans. If I'm going to take $200 and spend it on something, I should be putting it into something that has longevity and over time will multiply itself. That's what the S&P is. It's an index fund. It literally multiplies and compounds interest on top of what you're putting into it. It's an unbelievable key and tool that wealthy people use to have long-term growth. It's not fast, but it is solid long-term. One of the most solid investments out there long-term when you're talking about public trading. All right, back to what we're talking about, this choice thing. Now, I understand what the other guy is saying is when you have a significant amount of people who aren't living a life that anybody, that they aren't living the life that everybody aspires to, and the life they're living is a life that nobody wants. You can't make the assumption that they're purposely making choices to stay there. Then what's the situation? The situation is exposure. The situation is the paradigm. The situation is experiential. There's a thing called learned hopelessness. Learned hopelessness is when you're in a situation and you try something over and over again, and after a while you realize, I've tried it 20 times, it doesn't work, it's not going to work, and you give up. There's vicarious learned hopelessness. Vicarious learned hopelessness is watching somebody else do it 20 times and fail and realize that ain't even worth trying. It can't be done. They tried it 20 times. And what you're not looking at is all the other variables. And what people do when they sit up and they talk about this choice thing is they don't look at the people who've made it. Because a lot of times, one thing that I have insisted in the course of my professional career over my life is that I not be used as a symbol of what's possible, as a way of tearing down and convicting the average person of something in their life and where they're failing, because nobody knows how many people opened doors for me. Nobody knows how many people saw inside of me something that I didn't see inside of myself. I've had people speak into my life since I was 2 years old, and I had people demand stuff of me that the average kid is not having demanded of them since I was 2 years old. I was, by the time I was 10, expecting something different than most of the kids in my community were expecting. And it was expected. So there's a difference, and we have to understand that. But here's the thing. At a certain point, you're no longer a child. At a certain point, you're no longer absence of opportunity. It means you have to do what you have to do to seize the opportunity. We have gotten now to where we think it should be handed to us, that because we should have it, somebody should come sit down and give it to us. No, you have to be relentless. There are things that I've learned that are a major factor in what I do as a professional now that nobody taught me. I went out and I figured it out. I learned it. I read books. I studied. I had trial and error. I've slipped and failed. I've busted my butt. Over the last 5 years, I've had things that looked great, jumped out there and bust my ass. Had to rebuild, restart, do it again. But the thing is, I'm never sitting down saying, this is the best I can do. This is all I can have. I've never done that. And because of it, I've done some extraordinary things. I've achieved some extraordinary things. I've gone beyond. I'm not a person that does a whole lot of bump dropping. Obviously, there's just certain things you're going to know about me. You know, I've published 25 books. You know, I've founded 47 companies and brought them to profitability. There are a bunch of other things that I've done. I don't talk my money. I don't talk what and stuff, but people who know me know. But here's the thing. Nobody handed me any of that. I fought for it. I demanded certain things of myself. I made certain sacrifices. I took certain steps. I did things that the average person simply isn't willing to do, to have things that they'll never have. And that's the thing. You can't keep sitting around looking at what someone else has, getting upset because they have it, and you're not willing to put in the work that they've put in to have it. Are some people born with silver spoons in their mouth? Absolutely. There are certain people that are just simply handed things. That is a very small part of the population. The vast majority of millionaires now are made millionaires, meaning that they didn't come from money. Most of them actually came from pretty meager beginnings, and they built something and they grew something. Now, obviously, there are some that obviously had, and if you come from certain groups, certain racial makeups, you're going to have access to more conversation, more talk, different paradigms, different cultures that's going to point you in ways of success. There are some people who are going to have an easier road paved for them simply because of who they are, simply because of the race that they come from. That is to be expected. What you cannot allow is an excuse to be created because of where you started. An excuse to be created because of some of the things you've been through. An excuse to be created to sit up and say, because this has happened to me, I can never excel, because this has happened to me. My heart goes out to people. I work with people who have experienced some of the most horrific traumas. I work with people who have come from some of the most devastating backgrounds and have horrible pasts. I understand it. My past isn't painted in pure pearls and golds. Never knew my father. I mean, I never met the man. First time I saw him was at his funeral. And I had to deal with that. And it took a long time. And there are certain things that I find still within my little mannerisms that come from that experience as a 14-year-old burying a man that you dreamed of having a relationship with and never had it. But what I cannot do, what I refuse to do, is walk around and let that be the badge that I wear. I refuse to walk around and let that be the source of my identity. I refuse to walk around and sit up and my story be because my daddy. No. Despite of my dad, despite of being born to a 15-year-old mom, despite all of the things that said statistically you are trapped in a life of poverty and crime and you'll never do anything be outside the basics of what people from I'm going to be that person that makes it. But here's the difference. When I decided I was going to be the person who makes it, I wasn't going to get there and then wear my badge of success like some god in my community where people look up to me. No, I'm going to come back and show you I'm not different than you. I behave differently. I think differently. I seize moments. I declare things in my life, and then I live my life as if the thing I declared is already done. You are going to have to stop thinking that because of what you've been through and what you've experienced, you're trapped somewhere. No, it's hard. It hurts. It can literally suck the life. I'm telling you, this has not been an easy year for me. And no, I'm not going to talk about it because it's still personal to me and the people involved still matter to me. And so I'm going to keep that personal, but it has not been easy. But what I can tell you is that despite it all, I refuse to lay down. Despite it all, I refuse to just walk around and go, oh my God, oh woe is me. No, this is life. Other people are dealing with things far worse. What am I going to do? I'm going to stand up. I'm going to find a way to make it. I'm going to do the things I've done. I'm going to reach for that dream, that next idea, that next move. I'm going to make it. I'm going to win. I don't get a pass because life sucks. Nobody owes you anything but you. You owe you. So what you have to do is make up in your mind that I'm going out and I'm going to get what belongs to me. I'm not going to take no for an answer. I'm not going to sit up and wallow in misery. I'm not going to sit up and be identified by my moments. I'm not going to let other people's opinions of me become the definition of who I am. I am not going to allow no one else to speak a reality on me that I have not declared for myself. I am going to be the owner of my destiny. I'm going to walk in the fullness of my purpose. I am going to live at the height of my design. I am going to show up in this world and be the most forceful representation of the unbelievable, unlimited power of God, the designer of my life and the establishing force of my destiny. I am refusing to sit up and let circumstances dictate who I am. Stop it. Stop it. We're imploding our lives because of situations. And don't get me wrong. I am not marginalizing the things you've been through. I'm not marginalizing. I'm not sitting up and saying that you haven't gone through horrific realities, that you haven't had horrible things happen, that you weren't born into the most atrocious of situations. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is life is not going to forgive you and give you a pass for that. Life isn't going to say, okay, because you were born in that, when you reach a certain age, we're going to give you this and you're going to live. No, life will kick you and stomp on you if you don't stand up for yourself. And the same life will turn around and pay whatever price you demand of it when you realize just how special you are, despite what you went through as a child, despite how many people didn't show up and help you, despite how many times you got setbacks, despite how poor you were, despite how abused you were. That life will show up and sit up and say, despite everything you've been through, I'll pay whatever price you demand of it. I just have a counter demand. I'm going to need you to stand up, raise your standard, square your shoulder, hold your head up, and live life in a way that you never thought possible. You got to walk in and claim it. That is what I'm trying to get you to understand. When I'm working with my clients, sometimes they marvel, like, wow, I never thought. And it's not these esoteric ideas or conversations I can tend to have with some people that love to have those conversations. It's the simplicity of it. And then I'll make the connection between things that they've heard that's on that esoteric level. You know, the problem is we got a lot of people running around talking about a lot of things, everything from quantum physics, quantum reality, to the law of attraction and everything in the law of reciprocity, universal laws. All these things are real. All these things play a role. But at the simplicity of it, it's faith. It's sitting up and saying, I believe something so strongly that I'm going to step out into a space where I can't see my first step. And I'm going to trust that there's solid ground underneath, and that what I'm going in to get and can't see, I'm going to reach out and touch. That is what the universe responds to at its most simplistic state. Now you look at it, there's all these things going through. There's mentalism, there's spiritualism, there is energy and frequency and vibration and all of these things. There's the power of the mind to manifest. All this stuff is real, it's happening. But at the simplest part, it's just, I believe. Sometimes you don't have the answer, you just have to believe. Sometimes you don't even know the first step. That's okay. You've never done it before. It's okay that you don't know the first step, but you got to go. You got to reach out. You got to make a move. You got to become committed. On that note, look, I'm going to get ready to get out of here. I've already arrived. I've been here for a minute, but I wanted to challenge you. This is the time and the moment to take advantage of opportunities that are there, whether you see them or not. You have an unbelievable, powerful force within you. Anything your mind can conceive, anything that you can see and visualize, you can have. The question is, are you committed enough and ready to step out and go out and make it happen? That's the thing. That's the difference between those who get on and those who don't. It's not somebody's got some magical quotient and somebody, it's simply put, what are you going to do? As I said in the beginning of this, for those of you who want to put in some work, those of you willing to work with me, there are some opportunities to work with me in the description box. There's also some courses. Find something that advances you, because you don't get what you want. You get who you are. What have you become capable of doing? That is capable. Who have you become that's capable of doing something exceptional, extraordinary, phenomenal? You were built for phenomenal. God didn't design mediocrity. There's no mediocre design in God's repertoire. And so what does that mean? That means that you were designed to do something extraordinary. You've defaulted to average. You've defaulted to mediocrity by doing nothing. It's time to assume your destiny. On that note, look, I'm going to get ready to get out of here. As I always say, I live my life on full, so that when I leave this place, I die on E. I'm challenging you to do the same thing. On that note,